Christopher Nolan has released the date for his next film, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Me and Joshua here, we're going to talk about it tonight. Christopher Nolan. We're also going to be talking about some really cool news around the future of filmmaking. Apple has come out with a short film for Apple Vision Pro owners that they can watch. I don't know if it's out yet, or it's about to be, or maybe it's public now, but there's a little video that's showing kind of a World War II style submarine short film they put together that's in an immersive experience with the Apple Vision Pro. So those are the two things we're going to talk about. Some pretty cool stuff tonight.
Yes, sounds fun.
And the Chris Nolan thing, man, I'm so excited whenever there's even a slight bit of buzz around Chris Nolan. But when I saw this news, I was like, hey, I remember this one interview that I saw when the Oppenheimer was rolling out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me, hey, there might be some clues in there as to what Chris Nolan's next film might be about, right? And so I went ahead and I looked at it, and sure enough, I found two sections. One is like a question where they're on a very specific topic, and he starts talking about something. So it's clearly on his mind in a very introspective way. And then there's another section where he does rapid fire questions, and it kind of gives us some clues on what he might be staying away from, what he might be clued into. So we're going to take a look at that tonight. But before we get started, just want to encourage everyone watching, go ahead and interact with us in the chat. Love to hear your thoughts and to make you guys a part of this live stream as much as just us two. So glad you're here.
I want to say one thing real quick before we get going into the video that we're going to watch. The other day I put Inception on. I haven't seen it in a while, but I was watching it to show my wife because she had never seen it at all. And we got to the Elliot Page portion of it.
Okay.
She said, "This is slow. I can't watch anymore."
It's slow? Your wife is whack, man. What are you talking about? It's slow.
It does take, like, the beginning has some good intense moments at the beginning, and then it's kind of slow till they get into the dreams and everything.
What does she need from a movie for it to be engaging?
So we didn't get very far. I know that will make people mad, but
Inception is an amazing movie. How could you watch that and be like, "Oh, this is too slow for me"? Man, that's disheartening.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and jump right into Chris Nolan. All right, so I think this has a really good probability of being the direction that Chris Nolan is taking, or at least the premise that's building out his next film. So for people don't know yet, there was some news recently about, well, actually just a couple days ago, about two small facts about his next film. All right. So the film is going to be released July 17th of 2026. Reports say that the filming for this next movie will probably start early next year. So early 2025. In just a few months, right?
Yeah, which means the script is either fully finished now or they're making their final edits to the script.
Correct. And so this is probably something he's been working on for over a year at this point. And this is not new news, but it is for people who don't know. It will be starring Matt Damon. He's the only actor who's reportedly on the cast list at this point. That's public. Which is interesting. We've talked many times about how the reusing of actors, and you'll see an actor in a Chris Nolan film
as a smaller
role for like 2 or 3 movies, and then they become the lead in one of his movies. So like Cillian Murphy was a secondary actor for like 7 or 8 movies, you know what I mean? Or that's an exaggeration, but he was in quite a few. And then Oppenheimer became his leading man role.
Do you see Florence Pugh, kind of while we're on this topic, Florence Pugh being that character? You think he's going to go the female route some with any of his roles coming up?
Yeah, I don't know. I have it's really hard to say. I'm gonna be honest. I think he writes in a way that is more he obviously he has a lot of women characters, but do you know of any film that the lead is a woman that he's done?
No, I mean, no.
And so I think since he's a man, he tends to write a story from a man's character's perspective. Not to say that he won't. It very well could be the very next film he does as a leading woman, but up to this point, he has
I
a lot
mean,
of strong
all of his
second leads.
yeah, all of his roles have a lead woman. They're just not the main lead. They're always
Yes.
secondary character or oh yeah, basically the secondary character, which is
Right.
they're a very important character, just not the main person.
Right. In The Dark Knight Rises, you had Anne Hathaway. That's the same for Anne Hathaway in Interstellar. In Inception, you had Paige. In The Prestige, it's kind of the third character,
Scarlett
but you had
Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, exactly. So he always has a woman second lead in there. It's just a matter of, are they going to be the protagonist of the story? I don't know. So let's go ahead and jump into kind of the main areas that I want to theorize a little bit. I want to take a look at this video and this interview that he did and see if it clues us in as to what the topic, or at least the premise, the ideas surrounding his next film might be. All right. And tell me after watching this, or share your thoughts if you have them. Here we go.
My team and I had fun asking an AI, ChatGPT, to come up with the title and synopsis of a movie in the style of Christopher Nolan. We'll see what that means.
Nexus, in a futuristic society controlled by artificial intelligence. That's a very vain for an artificial intelligence to come up with. A rebellious hacker discovers the existence of a secret network that links all human minds, the Nexus. As he plunges into this complex virtual world, illusion and reality merge, putting his life and the fate of humanity at risk. He must find the core of the Nexus to save humanity from the remnant script, the AI. Complete, we say in English, cobblers, because, total nonsense.
So it's like he tried and take a few things of a few of your movies and did a mashup, and just a weird thing came out.
Yeah, completely.
We also tried doing like a poster, which was okay, but more looked like a comic book poster than a real movie. Do you feel inspired by those? I'm not sure.
No.
Okay, so they do this little bit where like they're joking around about the idea of using AI to kind of build out a story. All right. So he didn't like it, but let's see as he gets into the AI conversation what he has to say. Okay.
Not massively inspired, no. Other than, I mean, AI is it's an issue that as a Writers Guild member, my union is dealing with right now. And I talk to a lot of AI researchers these days, and right now they see this moment in time as their Oppenheimer moment. They refer to it as that because they're looking to his story to say, okay, we're about to unleash this very powerful technology on the world, and what about the unintended consequences? What do we do about that? But what I find encouraging about the use of AI in the artistic realm is I think they're going to be powerful tools, but ultimately there's no replacing human creativity. And these models and the way in which they process information, they're all based on human creativity from the past.
So there is human creativity here. And also, that's something in Oppenheimer, of course, you chose to not use CGI.
Yes.
Is there...
All right, so he gets into like more of the reason he doesn't use CGI in films. However, when he talked about the idea of, he's been talking to a lot of AI researchers lately, right? And so it makes me think, and then he's also kind of equating it to thinking about it from his last film. And if you've heard Christopher Nolan interviews or hear him talk, he kind of goes from like he writes scripts or picks his story based on what he's like currently in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the reason he did Oppenheimer is because he was reading what is the movie? American Prometheus or something like that.
I'm not familiar with that one.
I can't. It's hard for me to remember the name, but the Oppenheimer story is based on his film is based on a book, right? And
I see.
And so he's kind of makes stories and leans into what he's involved with, what he's thinking about, what he's researching. So if he is talking to a lot of AI researchers, I think and just kind of, he seems to be right there. Like he has thoughts about AI, right there. And so it seems like something he's been mulling over. He's been thinking through. He's been crafting a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe, definitely AI is on the forefront of what he's thinking and dealing with. I'm curious because this is kind of in topic, but a little bit off. Not Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan makes original movies, but he also does. They are original movies, but they're already established concepts, like Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a person. He just kind of made a story about his life. Batman. Batman was already a comic. He just kind of made a story about his life. It's not an original idea. Then he has things like Tenet, Inception,
Prestige.
Original ideas that are his. I'm curious if he kind of is in this mode of original idea, not really original idea, just so he can kind of it takes him a while to come up with his original ideas. And if that's true, I mean, Oppenheimer, yes, he wrote the script, and there was a lot he had to come up with. The story itself is already established story. So
I think creatively, I think he kind of goes back and forth. And so I think definitely the next film will be an original idea. Yeah. I do think the next existing idea he makes a film about, I think he's going to eventually do a James Bond, because he's already said many times that's like something he really would love to do, is James Bond. And so I think he might do a James Bond story, and that'll probably, at least my best guess, would be his next existing idea film. I think his third film that's going to be coming out in 2026 will be an original idea. If he wants to do
a James Bond, he's got to get on it fast, because we've been talking about the next James Bond for a minute now. And if this movie doesn't come out till 2027, and then it takes him a little bit, he takes a small break between films. By the time he gets to James Bond, James Bond's not coming out till 2029. Maybe even 2030.
Is there another James Bond that's currently in production or in development?
Not in development, but there is in talks. We've been talking about this for a while on our podcast.
I think
who's going to be the next James Bond.
I think, look, you're right. We've been talking about it, but I think it's going to sit for a while now that they finished the Daniel Craig James Bonds. I think it's going to just sit there for a while, probably 5 to 8 years. I think there's not going to be a James Bond pop up. And I think Chris Nolan will be the one who picks it up. That's what I think.
I could see him doing a James Bond, but that's a long time. I'm just saying that's a long
Imagine if he got Henry Cavill to do James Bond or something crazy like that. I don't know. Henry Cavill might be way too tall. I think James Bond needs to be a bit shorter. But that would be pretty. I think whoever he would get for a James Bond would be pretty amazing. Now, there is more of this interview. It's like this sort of a section of the interview where he did rapid fire questions. And this will clue us in a little bit, at least give us little glimpses as to like what's not on the horizon, what he might be thinking about, and just some other areas outside of that. Okay, so let's listen to some of these rapid fires.
It's another timer. Basically, I will ask you a series of questions, and the idea is to answer yes, no, or just pass if you want to pass. Are you ready?
Oui.
Let's go. Will you still be making movies in 10 years?
Yes.
Could you make a TV show one day?
No.
Do you think there's life elsewhere in the universe?
Pass.
After Batman, do you want to direct another superhero movie?
No.
Will AI destroy humanity?
No.
Do you still refuse to have a smartphone?
Yes.
Which I got to pause it there. Will AI destroy humanity? He's like, no. It's literally something that he's grappled with, thought about, which is more indications that he has a very specific opinion, and he's probably building a script around that opinion, around that concept, around that worldview with AI.
I don't know.
Right?
He seemed it almost seemed like an interviewer is pushing this AI concept on him. I don't know if it's his idea right now. I think
No, but
the
in the
interviewer.
previous bit, he shared a lot of ideas around
Yeah,
AI, and he
AI.
was so matter of fact about it. I think he's thinking about AI in a very deep way, and unless it's just a personal endeavor, I think he might be thinking of it for storytelling purposes, right?
Maybe.
So let's keep going.
Are you afraid of death?
Yes.
Could you have a TikTok account?
No.
Well, if you don't have a smartphone, it's not easy anyway. Is Interstellar your favorite movie in your filmography?
Pass.
Would you like to make a Star Wars movie?
Pass.
Is music the most important thing in a movie?
No.
Is it okay to eat while watching a movie?
Yes.
Is it okay to watch movies on smartphones or laptops?
Yes.
Do you play video games?
No.
And maybe one last one. Does a big budget film have a higher chance of being a good film?
No.
You can take more time if you want to answer this one.
The relationship.
So if you guys want to watch more of this interview, you should check it out. Just look up like Chris Nolan interviews. It's one of the top that comes up on YouTube. But with some of that, did that feel like it clued you in at all to kind of where his mind is? Interesting. He's not doing another superhero franchise.
No.
He said pass on the Star Wars thing. I honestly think he probably would do it, but he's probably not going to want to do it with Disney Star Wars right now, right?
Yeah, definitely not. It would have to be original idea.
Yeah.
He's saying pass on a superhero movie, which
No, he said no to a superhero movie. He said no.
okay, no to a superhero. That's what I meant by pass. But I am thinking James Bond, although he's not a superhero,
He's
not, but he has very much superhero elements in his movies. Of the spy concept is being used a lot. I don't know if he wants to go to James Bond. I don't think he would, but that's not what you're arguing for.
He said so clearly in many interviews, like he would love to do James Bond. We know that's not going to be his next film for sure, because why would you pick Matt Damon to be James Bond? You wouldn't. But he's clearly wanting to do James Bond, and I think he will end up doing it. I just don't think it'll be his next film. It may not even be his, 2 films down the road, but I think he will do it. It's not a superhero film.
Yeah.
But he did say, will you be directing films in the next 10 years? And he said yes.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he did make an AI-based movie and Matt Damon is going to be in it, but Matt Damon is going to be another biopic where Matt Damon is playing Elon Musk.
My goodness.
That'd be funny.
Nah, I don't think he's that out there. It's always very serious concepts. And if we're being honest, he just came off of Oppenheimer, perfectly timed, where there's so much talk in the world of the fear of nuclear weapons again. It's almost perfectly timed. And then with AI on the rise, and as it has been, in the next 2 years, we will probably see an absolute explosion of what AI will look like in our everyday life more than it is now.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in 2 years' time, or a year and a half, in 2026 summer, it very well may be perfect timing for an AI concept, original idea story, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to present, and I'm going to go this far. I believe in this so much. I'm going to say the message of the film is probably going to be dealing with the idea of fear, or acceptance of AI. And it's not a new idea, but I think he's going to be digging into it in a deep way that we haven't seen before. And I think the end message, if he doesn't leave it open-ended, will probably end with, we do not need to fear AI, but here are the caveats, right? There's always a nuanced answer in the messaging of his movies, and the journey that we're taken on with the characters. And so I think with his answer there, like, do you think AI will destroy the world or something? No. I think he has a pretty clear idea and understanding of what AI will do, and I think he has a really strong theory about what the future of AI and humans will look like.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see when it gets a little bit sooner. Leave it in the comments what you guys think about I just lost my train of thought. What do
Christopher
you
Nolan.
think Christopher Nolan's next film is going to be? Do you have any speculations yourself, or yeah, what do you think it's going to be? Let us know in the comments down below. What do you think of this? What do you think about AI and maybe Christopher Nolan creating an AI movie?
Right, right. Who do you think might be a new face to Chris Nolan that we'll see show up in movies after this go round? He has yet to put Henry Cavill in movies, and it seems like Henry Cavill would be right up there where he is, right? He's a British guy. He takes his roles seriously in the same way that anybody in Hollywood would be lucky and happy to work with Chris Nolan, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see him not a young face, but a younger face, someone maybe in their early 30s that is more serious and is not just doing this, Hollywood limelight kind of spotlight superhero. I don't downplay
Like Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy,
Well,
Tom
he's already been in a
Holland.
Chris Nolan film. Timothy has.
What was that?
He played in Interstellar. He played the young boy.
Okay, but he was the young kid. He wasn't
Right,
a main
right.
character. Yeah. As much as I don't mind Timothy Chalamet, Tom Holland, these characters, these actors, I think they're too much in the limelight for Christopher Nolan. I think he needs somebody that's kind of there, but not quite, so that he can take some time to make a movie with.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to go through the list of who I remember from Oppenheimer, who was like a first-time face, but had a sort of more front-facing role that he would bring back again. Who's the guy in Oppenheimer? He's older and chubbier, but he also played in the Santa Claus movies.
Oh yeah.
Who he was
He
like
plays in
Oppenheimer's.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays in Numbers, the show.
Yeah, in
I
Oppenheimer,
can't
he was
remember his
like
name.
the other friend physicist who was heavier set, kept trying to get him to eat. You know what I mean? I think he might reappear in some more Chris Nolan films.
He could reappear, but he's not a main character. I don't think he has main character energy with his acting.
Definitely not
He's
main
definitely
character.
side character that you enjoy watching, but he's not like the main protagonist.
Right. And I think Emily Blunt will probably show up more because Oppenheimer was her first time, right?
Yeah, Emily Blunt, maybe Florence Pugh.
Maybe Florence Pugh. I don't know. Florence Pugh could be a good option, but I don't know. We'll have to see because she's kind of like Timothy Chalamet. She's really popular. She may pop up again, or she may be a one and done kind of thing. Yeah. I would love to see Robert Downey Jr. show up again, but he also might be a one and done kind of situation.
Oh, yeah. He's playing, going back to the MCU.
Yeah. So who knows, man? But I would love to see. Obviously, Matt Damon's getting his big role. He's been in 2 Chris Nolan films, and now he's getting his own. So that's pretty exciting. Matt Damon's a really awesome actor. Mm-hmm. So let's move on to some pretty awesome Apple news. If people are tech nerds or just excited for virtual reality films, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go into this. So Apple has recently debuted a scripted short film, right? That's based in World War II. It has either been released or it's about to be released for Apple Vision Pro users. Now, I want to show you this article and we can watch this little video, but basically it is a film that is a story that's been filmed in order to watch it with virtual reality. Okay. And it's hard to understand exactly how they do that unless you put on the headset, the goggles, and actually see what it's like. But let's watch this little video and get an idea. It's a little behind the scenes kind of thing.
Everything we're doing here is the first time that anyone's ever doing it. When you put on the Apple Vision Pro, it does change the way you think about creating a story.
Oh, I can see.
It's a wonderful new medium that just expands the horizon of storytelling. Because you're not watching a movie anymore. You're inside the story.
Yeah, you're in the movie. That makes sense. Can you pause there for a second? So clearly there's a lot of water. So like we've seen in movies where like the camera kind of goes underwater and you kind of go underwater with the actor, but clearly you're going to be wearing the goggles and it's going to be like you go into the water and you're like, oh, you start holding your breath. It feels like you're actually going under the water with the camera.
Yeah, but I guess the question is like, I always wonder is it because we're telling a story, we're going from scene to scene, right? We're switching locations. Is it like a floating camera where you're kind of like in place, but it's moving for you and you can look around like a one take kind of situation? Or are we having hard cuts and now we're in a new scene and we can look around with 360 degrees? Like that's just the question I have is
I don't think it's going to be as much 360, but I don't think it's going to be hard cuts either. I think it's going to be, this is weird to say, but I feel like it might be like 1917. Is that the right movie? That it's one continuous shot?
Yeah.
1917. I think it's going to feel similar to that in a way of like, it feels like you're going with the characters and you're not.
So a floating camera kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Except you will be in place where the camera is and you can look around the scene. I don't know. I would say that would be interesting, but that already exists on YouTube. Like indie filmmakers have already done that. So if this is a new thing, I'm like, exactly how are they doing it that makes it new? Other than it just being like Apple's doing it, with like an official director and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's keep watching, see if they get into this at all.
Tell him to turn towards me.
I actually was going to.
It's so real. You kind of go like, turn more. Okay.
Submerged is about a group of young Navy men in the Second World War who are in the submarine and suddenly
I
they
already
are
feel
attacked.
claustrophobic.
You already feel claustrophobic with this?
Yeah. I already feel like I'm going to die.
Let's go.
I think it's the perfect story to tell for the Apple Vision Pro because we get to look around, we get to hear in every direction. You basically have a camera that sees 180 degrees.
Oh, so
You
it
naturally
is
become
180 degrees.
180 degrees. That's not 360, right?
No.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's
look
still
behind you.
Okay, but you can't look. You're not. You can probably still go like this.
Yeah, you can look around like this, but it's like, where's the wall at? You know what I mean? Like you can't look behind you, I guess.
the camera operator. So someone would come in the door in your peripheral vision and you would naturally turn to see that person walk in and then walk into the sweet spot of the image.
It transports you into this environment that you know that you aren't in, and yet you see that you're there. It's much more real than anything else.
Get everyone on first positions.
We have one main character, James Dyson. He guides us through the story, and we experience everything with him.
We wanted to take the audience through a bit of a journey. When Dyson wakes up in the morning, we wanted to give a slight kind of thriller element to it, which came about when Ed and I were breaking the script down visually.
Take 2 Apple marker.
Again, I'm just so curious. Are we doing hard cuts from scene to scene, or are we floating camera? You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I really want to know that.
It truly is immersive. You're fully placed.
Okay. Did you see that?
Yeah, it
The
felt
camera
fluid.
moved.
Yeah.
I saw the camera floating, so we may or may not have hard cuts, but we definitely have the cameras moving for us, right?
Yeah.
In the story, and you can look around, witness things happening firsthand.
We had to change our ways of thinking about filmmaking. You have
Naturally.
to integrate the sound into the setting. You have to integrate the lights into the set because you can't put up any lights anywhere. Basically challenges us in every way.
That's really fascinating. You have to put the sound in the set, right? So the 360-degree sound is correct with what you're hearing. So if you're supposed to be implanted into the environment, you have to hear, see peripheral, and you can't look around and see there's a light with a light stand right there. All the lights have to be in the set, like all of the exposure.
I understand the lighting thing, but can't they just like hide a lav or something, a lav mic underneath the shirt, or like in plays they put it right here on the head, and so
it's not so much talking about the mic of the character; it's talking about the sound effects, right? So you could go in and enhance that probably, but I think they definitely have a mic, right, for the actor that's like under his shirt or in his hairline that you can't see. But I think on some level it's also capturing live the sounds of the environment. Like you hear the
let's finish the video. I want to watch the whole video and then we'll talk about it more, because
the camera format has given us new challenges. With the 180-degree vision, we are having to think more about how we move a camera in a confined space without using track, dolly, or anything that can be seen by the camera. And I've worked a lot with the art department to create places within the set that we can hide a lot more of the moving mechanisms for moving a camera than we would on a normal shoot. Really opens up so many opportunities to immerse the viewer in such an amazing world.
When you're watching the film on Vision Pro, you see everything in focus. Every detail is apparent. We've had to sort of up the level. So we built the set completely out of metal, as accurately as possible, like a real submarine. We've pushed ourselves to use as many real materials wherever we can. Different surfaces, gloss, satin, to sort of build up interest. The fact that we're sort of enclosed is quite an exciting space. Wherever you look, there's something going on.
When you're wearing the Vision Pro, you're always seeing the ceilings, you're always seeing the walls. We wanted it to feel authentic. Definitely wanted the audience to feel the sort of claustrophobia of a submarine. The set that is behind me at the moment, that entire set gets completely submerged.
No,
it really puts you in the space and brings that fear that you find with the actors into your own head.
You really can experience the story through one person's eyes.
Never mind.
This is a very exciting tool for filmmakers. It is a new way of looking at cinema.
When you put on the Apple Vision Pro and when you immerse yourself in this story, you really get a physical, emotional experience that I've never felt anywhere else before. In any movie, in any theater, you have to experience it for yourself.
All right.
This seems cool to watch, and I would probably watch it a couple times, but this almost feels like, and maybe this is just because this is progression of how we watch things, and I'm the person that was back in the 80s being like, yeah, that the TV's not going to end up like that, but really it is. Or like people who didn't think the internet was going to be a thing and it ended up being huge. But this to me feels like action adventure books that were cool, but never caught on.
Okay. All right. I hear what you're saying. And I sort of agree with it. I think there's a serious market for this. However, I think the problem is not so much in the fact that it will lose its glamour. I do, however, think that it is way too difficult, way too slow of a process, and way more expensive to do this type of film than it will be. Like, films already cost $100 million just to get a really strong, like Chris Nolan spends $100 million consistently, and people inflate budgets and go to $300 million. But movies are already expensive. With this kind of technology, let's double or triple that. You know what I mean?
Well,
because this is going to be hard.
Not just the budget. I think it's a fun experience to go and do the virtual reality game, or go and watch it here and there as an experience. But I think
Right.
people enjoy the casual watching, the watching with people, being able to commentate with other people, like talking, but yet watching it and kind of laughing, having that experience together. Or like I said, just casually watching in the background. And you can't do any of that with this technology,
Right.
to where I think we're losing some things that people actually really enjoy with just watching on a screen.
Correct. I think communal viewing parties, like hanging out with friends, this is going to be a solo experience. Okay, this is not a group experience necessarily. There might be some kind of pairing if people who really enjoy movies and want to experience the 360 together. There's some level of that where we do have group watches where you can all have your headset and enjoy it together. But you're right, the social setting of watching a movie is not accomplished in an environment like this. I don't think that quite negates the market that this has.
Yeah.
I do, however, think we are going to, like, right now it's the cool kids. You know what I mean? It's Apple has it. They have their new Vision Pro. They want to try to do new stuff. They want to make a splash. They want to be talked about like we're doing right now. However, is this sustainable for the filmmaking market? Maybe AI makes it easier. Like we could have movies that are animated using AI that does something like this. But live action stuff like this, you saw how difficult, like, it has to look real. You can't have like that wall way in the background that you barely see can be plaster. Like, no, when you get close to it and you can actually look around and take a look at the
It's gotta
issues
look
with
real.
it's gotta be real, man. And so, and also you have to hide, like in cinema, you can hide so much with just your angles. With this, it's like you gotta have everything. Everything has to be real. Everything has to be done.
Yeah.
All the lights have to be there. You can't do artificial lighting next to the camera.
I mean, you could trick it like we talked about before, these COVID movies that came out, these, The Guilty on Netflix. It's Jake Gyllenhaal in a room where he's talking on a phone, and that's what all you see. You can do movies like that where it's one room,
it's more
talking on
simple,
the phone.
right?
But yeah, when it comes to like interacting with huge sets, that's when it's going to get expensive. So you do have to be creative, like how you do this. What's your concept? Is it entertaining enough for me to be immersed into it? Because at that point, like if it's just one room, do I want to sit here and like look around the room? If it's one room, I mean, that's going to get boring after a while. You have to have all these sets and changing it up for me to do it and feel like I'm investing my time to do it.
It's really hard to say. There's so many personal preferences. I am curious to see if there's going to be enough people that are interested in this to keep the market afloat, especially when it takes so much time and money and extra effort to put something like this together, or if we're just going to keep on with the status quo. We'll see a couple short films, maybe feature films that are like this come out, but ultimately it doesn't lead to a mainstream production format, using the VR environment to tell a film story. I, however, think it's super awesome. I think it's really freaking cool. And
it's cool as much as like an action adventure book.
You are such a cynic. It is way cooler than an action adventure book, man.
Hey, I had a lot of fun with those, to either choose to go with Obi-Wan
shut up, man,
to go get the droids and go off planet, or stay and take care of Uncle Ben and
you just said the same person. Are we leaving with Obi-Wan or staying
Obi-Wan,
with
and we're staying with Uncle and his aunt?
All right, look, let us know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys think there's legs here, is this going to be something that sticks around? Super curious to get a discussion going in the comments around this. Would love to hear all of your thoughts. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, just so you could see more videos like this, as well as live streams. But I think that's all I have for tonight. I think that's it.
That's all, folks.
Hey, thanks so much for sticking with us, all you who joined us live. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. I guess we'll see you in next week. We're no Thursday recording this week, so because we don't.
I'll probably have a video that I come out with.
Yeah, we'll have some videos, but no
We'll
live
have some
streams.
videos. No live stream on Thursday.
We'll see you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.